When a role opens up, a hiring manager doesn't automatically think about writing a job advert. The first thing that goes through their mind is, who do I know? Who do I know already who could be a good fit for this role? I'm Paul Swanwick, more than 22 years experience in recruitment and over 1,000 hiring decisions. Let's get into it. My experience tells me, and the experience of most people that I know in the recruitment industry and professionally, is that more than 50% of the open roles never actually make it to a job advert. They're filled through networks, through recommendations, through referrals, through people they've previously worked with, through people referred to them, through people they trust, through family members, through all sorts of different networks. So the idea that everything should be concentrated into applying for job adverts is slightly off the mark. It is, of course, a channel to explore, but what I'm going to look at in this video is how we can understand A, what our network looks like, and B, ways that we can leverage it, not just for the first job that we get or the second job that we get, but to make sure that our entire career has some amazing options that could come up in 10, 15, 20 years when we're not just looking at a job paying, 80, 90, 100,000, but a job that's paying 200,000 plus. There are some views and ideas that this is nepotism and there should be a fair playing field and that everybody should be considered, but that's just not how it works. The idea here goes back to what we were talking about in the previous video around reducing risk for the hire. If you are looking at hiring somebody you already know, or somebody who's performed well for somebody you trust, there's already a huge element of de-risking that hire. That's why it becomes such an attractive proposition for people to hire someone they already know or who already are known for performance within their own networks. Most graduates are not accessing networks. They probably know it's relevant, but there is a trepidation around starting conversations with people much more senior and experienced than you because you just haven't had the experience yet, or you're lacking the confidence due to the fact, again, that you don't have a lot of experience building and developing very, very good relationships from a professional standpoint. There are probably three common misconceptions that we all have about networking. Let me go through those. The first one is that we're asking strangers for something, people we don't know. And that's not the case. We're often always asking people who have at least some idea of who we are and know somebody who can vouch for us. The second misconception is that it's an awkward conversation. Not really. You've got to think about the idea of asking someone for help, or if somebody asks you for help. People rarely say no to helping people they know or people who are known to them through people they trust. And the third misconception is that, well, I don't have a network. You actually do. And we're going to go into how we can actually uncover that, how we can understand who exists in our network. And when we go through that sort of exercise, you'll actually be quite surprised at the sort of people who are in your network. And the people immediately that you talk to may not open doors directly for you, but you'll be surprised at what you can get out of it. All right, let's look firstly at mapping out this network that we have. The network we have falls into a few different categories, but let's assume that you are in your final year of university. You've had no experience whatsoever. No experience, no internships, no casual work experience, and you're sitting here thinking, I do not know anybody. Well, probably through your social networks, you actually do. And if I give you an example of my networks, this may help you out a little bit. So I play football. I'm a goalkeeper and I've been with the same team for about 10 years now. Most of those people on that team, varying ages, but they know something, they work somewhere, they know people, they have their own networks. And I know if I reached out to them because I was in a situation where I didn't have a job and I needed some ideas, some recommendations, some referrals, look, a few of those would be empathetic and may not be able to help, but there would be a handful of people there who would take some sort of pity on me, let's say. But that's not a bad thing. And think about people I could talk to. They may even come up with some recommendations for me as to things I could explore. At least at the very least, you're not alone. So think about the social communities that you're part of, any sporting teams, any volunteering, any family friends. The other thing is, a lot of people in our immediate family in the adult world will probably know somebody who owns a business. People who own businesses are often in the consulting realm, not always, or they own a business and have customers and suppliers that they know. This is a network that you should try to tap into. And what we'll do is we'll go into a little bit later how we start those conversations. But in terms of just mapping it out, if you have literally no experience, that is where you should be looking. Let's say you have some experience. That's even better. What we can look at now is talking to people you've worked with previously who may still be in those jobs. If you were casual and working in retail or hospitality, some of those people may have gone on to different things. Often people don't stay in hospitality for many years. They use it as a stepping stone to move into bigger things. Talk to those people, see where they've gone, have a conversation with them about how they made that move. If you have had an internship or you have managed to get some experience which is a little bit more corporate rather than hospitality, again, you've got a very different set of channels that you can explore, different people. Some of these people will also be your references, and that's a great way to start. When you call somebody and ask them to be your referee, the conversation shouldn't just end there. Adding on to that conversation should be, are you aware of anyone I could talk to? Is there anything you know in your network? Are there any people around who may be looking for a hardworking grad? You know what I'm like. You've seen how I operate. Is there anybody I could at least call or talk to just for a conversation? These are the sort of things that should be happening with people who know you very well. So now when you map this out, and if you spend a good hour thinking about this and even get help from people, talk to your parents, your family, your friends, and get recommendations from them as well, you start to build out this list. Now, I think if you spend an hour and a half on this, and that's quite a lot of time, you could probably easily come up with 30 people, maybe more in some cases. What you should do is tier those people. Who do you have the strongest relationship with? Who's the easiest conversation? That gets you started. Second tier would be people who know you, who've met you, but maybe don't know you so intimately. Tier three, maybe people who have met you on occasion. You may have dealt with them or seen them somewhere at a family function, at an event, maybe through a job that you've had. And those are probably the tier three people, just because they're less familiar with you. But it doesn't mean we don't talk to them, and there's a way that we can do that. The biggest issue most of us have when making that first outreach is we feel bad about asking someone for a job or asking somebody more for something that's quite selfish. Now, we know that if we ask someone, have you got a job or do you know of any jobs? It sort of puts them on the back foot a little bit because they feel they can't help us if they don't have a job. And we always have this little thing that goes around in our heads that makes us feel a bit weird about asking those questions. Shift it from asking for a job to asking for perspective. If somebody knows you're looking for a job, they're not going to not tell you about a job. That's the reality. So the approach that we have to make is about asking for perspective. It's you, and also use your lack of seniority, how junior you are, where you are as a graduate, as a bit of a leverage point. We all want to help people if we can. So the approach would be something like this. I'm about to graduate, or I've graduated recently, and I'm trying to get into a particular field, or I'm trying to get my first job out of university. It's proving quite tough. I wonder if I could just have 15 minutes of your time or catch up for a chat or just get your perspective on how you made your first move or what you've seen other people do. I could really use some ideas, some perspective, and I know you're a person who's probably gone through this before. Could you help me out? Now, you're not asking for anything aside a conversation. If there is something they know, if there is something they can help with, they're going to share it with you, whether that's on a phone call or whether that's over a coffee or however it is you conduct that interaction. But it's all about perspective. If you frame it as asking for help and asking for perspective rather than asking someone to directly link you to an opportunity, you're far more likely to start a conversation. And from there on, there are so many different things that could come up for you, which are either jobs, learning, ideas, advice, something you'd never even thought of. The way we reach out to someone can be tiered in different ways. The most effective way to get somebody's attention and start a conversation is by a phone call, then a text message, then an email, then using something like LinkedIn or whatever social media channel you use. LinkedIn, we have to be a bit careful with because LinkedIn is absolutely saturated with spam. It is. From my perspective as a business owner, it is saturated with spam. However, if you know these people and you're struggling to get them by phone, by text, by email, a gentle nudge on LinkedIn might be a good idea. I would put it at the end though. I don't think it's the most effective way to get yourself noticed, especially at this stage and the importance of getting that first job. Ideally, we want to be picking up the phone or sending a text message and starting a conversation that way. In summary, LinkedIn and Seek are, yes, something you must have, but it's not something to rely on. What you want to think about is as you grow your career, is building that network so you don't have to rely on LinkedIn and Seek anywhere near as much as most people do. Build that network and keep it going. Talk to people, get used to starting these sorts of conversations, and you will be surprised at how quickly you not only find out about new opportunities, but what you can learn from other people. There is so much personal experience that people are always willing to share that can put you ahead of all your competition. If you want to dig deeper into this, the link to Career Hijack is in the comments.